Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kentucky Small Business Development Center's weekly webinar. I'm Dave Etkin. I'm the director of the SBDC Center here in Louisville, Kentucky. So if it's your first time joining me, well, welcome. Glad to see you. Or if it's your 100th time joining me, thank you for joining again. Always glad to see you coming back. I see a bunch of folks just starting to come in and join us, and as everybody does, while we give everybody a minute to join, I'd like to share a little bit about the Kentucky Small Business Development Center program. As the only statewide and nationally accredited program that provides entrepreneurial and business development services, the Kentucky SBDC plays a vital role in Kentucky's economic development by assisting entrepreneurs at every stage of their business life cycle. For almost 40 years, Kentucky SBDC has assisted emerging and growing businesses by providing the professional expertise, tools, and information necessary to make sound business decisions in a complex and ever-changing marketplace. We do this at no cost to our clients thanks to the U.S. Small Business Administration, who co-sponsors our program, which is then administered by the University of Kentucky, who then partners with regional universities, colleges, and local economic development agencies. We're also part of a national network, America's SBDC, with over 1,000 centers across the nation. To learn more, visit KentuckySBDC.com, and there you'll find additional resources to help you start, fund, and grow your business. If you'd like to request personal assistance, please email us at info@KentuckySBDC.com or give us a call at 1-888-414-7232. And if you look to the right of your screen, you'll find the chat feature. If you have any questions for our presenter, you can post them there, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. And just to test that everything's working, you can see me and you can hear me. Please do me a favor, just jump in there and say hello. Tell me where you're joining from. Always happy to see you. So I'm Dave Etkin again. I'm the director of the Louisville Small Business Development Center. I'm one of 17 centers throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And just so you know, a recording of today's webinar will be emailed to you this afternoon. So I'd like to welcome our guest today, Mike Slover, who is an astounding marketing strategist and also a published author. And he has written several books, and he has kind of a great, a great way to kind of think about your strategy, your marketing strategy. And this is something I've been really focusing on lately, is the strategy part of marketing, as opposed to the tactics. And Mike really gets to the bottom of it here. So, Mike, welcome. Good to see you today.
Thank you, David. Good to see you as well.
So, tell us a little bit about what's how to be lovable in local marketing.
Well, there's a lot to explain, and hopefully I can explain it all within the next 45 minutes to 60 minutes that we have. But my goal is to have a really good time and hopefully maybe learn something in the process. Now, as I spoke with you earlier, I'm so happy to be speaking with the folks from Louisville, Kentucky. I just wish I had a little angel envy, in a little rocks glass to enjoy with you guys this morning. But I've got other things to do, so I can't do that. But I do have a jam-packed next, again, 45 to 60 minutes. I hope that you guys learn or at least get a glimpse into how to think strategically, not only in your marketing and advertising, but the techniques that I'm hoping to teach you today are the techniques that some of the greats use, like Henry Ford, like Albert Einstein, doctors, scientists. These are all the principles and the fundamental principles of the universe that they use to overcome problems, to create solutions, to move the world, I guess, if you could say. So I'll jump right in. And the first question that I have for you all, and if you could, just put your answers over in the chat. Why are you here? And what are you trying to make happen? So you've given up about an hour of your time with me this morning. We've never met. This is our first time. Why are you here? What are you looking to make happen? What do you hope to get out of this presentation in the next 40 to 60 minutes? What brought you here? Why are you here? and what are you trying to make happen? And once you answer that question, whoever puts it in the chat, tell me, why does that matter? Whatever you gave me, whatever you said, this is why I'm here, Mike. This is what I'm trying to make happen. I don't have any angel envy too. This is what I'm trying to make happen today. This is what I hope you deliver. Why does that matter to you? To become better known in Louisville. Okay, why does that matter? And then once you answer the why does that matter question, then answer it again with the same answer. Why does that matter? Grow my business. Why does that matter? About the third time of answering, why does that matter? We start to drill down and we peel back the layers of the onion, so to say, and we start to get the root of why you're here. And guess what? If I truly know what's in the heart of you, I can probably tailor a better marketing presentation to you, the customer per se. So with that knowledge, if you like what you see today, I did write a book called The Strategy Wizard. All of these principles and maybe even a deeper dive is in The Strategy Wizard, How to Make Lovable Local Marketing for Bulk and Good Business. It's on Amazon. You can check it out there. But what do you think would work better? The brilliant execution of a flawed strategy or the flawed execution of a brilliant one? Well, in business, it's the flawed execution of a brilliant strategy that usually wins the day. And what that means is if we can get the strategy right, it doesn't matter where we put it. It doesn't matter what vehicle of advertising that we use. It's probably going to work. But it all depends on the strategy and how we craft it and how relevant it is to the public. So my hope and my goal is that you're going to understand extremely well how to build strategies after this session. So where do you find a brilliant strategy? Some of you may know, Ivan Pavlov. Ivan was the guy with the dog. Every time Ivan rang a bell, he offered a dog meat. The consistent and frequent of offering the meat when he rang the bell over time developed an involuntary response inside of the dog. The dog over time would salivate to the sound of the bell. But if it was not for the love of the taste of meat, the bell would have done nothing but to annoy the dog. Most business owners, most people that come up with marketing strategies and advertising strategies are just annoying the dog. We're not going to annoy your customer, your dog, with what we're going to teach today. Because there's really only one thing I know about strategy, and that's what's the meat in the heart of your dog, in the heart of your customer. Now, these were gifts, and you could see the dog's tongue, but when we convert it to this webinar, it just makes it a picture. So just envision the dog's tongue coming out of the little bone thing. What matters enough that all people will tell other people? What is that? How do we uncover that? How do we uncover that diamond? Nobody really cares about you. They only care about themselves. And I know some of you say, yeah, I get that, Mike. I know that. But I can assure you, sitting down with hundreds of business owners over the last 20 years, they all go into unconsciously, really, they're thinking about what's in it for them and not what's in it for the customer. And that's where strategy usually always falls off of the rails, because every business owner is on the inside looking out, and what they see is entirely different from what their customers see. The customers are on the outside looking in. It's hard to read the label when you're stuck inside of the bottle. And most business owners are too close to the business or the product or the service to see their customers as real. So we're talking about the felt need, and the felt need is a desire in the heart of the customer. To speak to an unfelt need is to answer a question that no one is asking. It's the reason that most strategies or advertising fails 90% of the time. So that's a big one. That's, if you don't have this, anything else that I teach you is not going to work, or it's going to be pretty lackluster. So this is selling strategy. Growing a business is easy when you have a strong selling strategy. Good strategy always starts with the customer. Bad strategy is about the business owner, or anything other than the customer. What's in it for the customer? Can't say that enough. What matters to the customer? What's the benefit that you provide to the customer? How does the customer buy? How does the customer prefer to be sold? What could you do your competitors couldn't or wouldn't do? And if there's one thing you could do that your competitors would think you're nuts for doing, what would that be? Let's do that thing. And I'm going to show you some examples of things that were probably pretty nuts and a little outrageous that businesses did that catapulted their businesses, that you can do the same thing. Once you've got the felt need locked in and you understand it intimately, then you'll start looking for defining characteristics. Defining characteristics are unusual features or distinguished elements that are used to identify the shape of a business and the shape of your customers. What defines them? Etch that out, write that out. Think long and think hard about the defining characteristics of your company, the defining characteristics of your category, of the business category that you're in. What are those? Let's lay those down on the table and get those down on the page. They're going to help us in this process of creating a compelling selling strategy that's going to work. Now, ask, what objections do customers have for not doing business with you? What objections do customers have for your industry? Is there a stigma within your industry that everybody kind of loosely knows, and maybe even you kind of know it? What is that? Write it down. Write it down on a piece of paper. And then you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, do people not do business with you because they don't know about you, or because they do know about you? That's the question that really needs to be answered. So what are the objections? And then you look at, well, what are the limiting factors that my business has? Is it my location? Is it, it could be a host of different things, but what is holding me back from where I want to go, what I'm trying to make happen? What is the iron anchor that's limiting me from growth? What is that thing? And sometimes you may not know. That's where you may want to ask an outsider that doesn't know your business as intimately as you do. Hey, what do you think about this? You know, explain your situation, what you're trying to make happen, and then see if somebody can help you pinpoint the limiting factor in your business. And then remove the limiting factor. Try to figure out a way, any way you can, to get over it. And I've got examples I'm going to show you folks. And then we look at another step in the strategy thinking process is, do we have any unleveraged assets? An unleveraged asset is an ace you forgot was up your sleeve. And chances are, if you have a business, you're sitting on an unleveraged asset right now. You just don't know that it's there. You can't see it because you're inside of the bottle. I'm going to show you how to get out of it. I used to be the vice president of marketing for an outdoor videography company. We sold video equipment to the hunting and fishing industry. It sounds like a crazy idea. Most people would have said that's a crazy nuts idea. Yeah, that's never going to work. You're going to go broke. Well, it actually worked really, really super well. And we were sitting on an unleveraged asset that Campbell Cameras did not know about. They had a lodge that sat empty that could house about 50 people. Now, it was in operation for 3 or 4 months out of the year, and then it was empty for 8 to 9 months. And one of the defining characteristics of our customers were that they had a desire to start their own outdoor television show, but they didn't know the right equipment to use. They didn't know how to create a production. They didn't know how to talk to a television station. We had a TV show also. That was another asset that we had that was unleveraged. So we had a TV show. We knew how to produce outdoor television. We knew how to run cameras, and we had a lodge sitting empty 8 to 9 months out of the year. Video school. I mean, that's really a no-brainer. We've got this all at our disposal. So we started our first video school. It garnered us about $25,000 on the very first school that we ran. When I left, I had Campbell Cameras set up to make an additional about $350,000, almost pure profit a year based off of the video schools on an unleveraged asset that they had sitting there that they didn't know was there. So you probably have the same thing that you're sitting on as well. You just haven't thought about looking for it. Now, I know what you're saying. And again, these slides were set up where they had some animation, but when they went into the web jam, it made it an image. So I apologize for that. But my business partner, Roy Williams, he has a DUI lawyer. And I know what a lot of you are thinking. Well, my business is different. I hear that all the time. But what about a DUI lawyer? Can a DUI lawyer have a strategy? Well, this particular DUI lawyer was out of New York. He had a 5 frequency in his market, which means that he had advertising that people heard 5 times a week. He was a household name. People knew about him, and he couldn't grow his business. And it was the question, do people not know about you, or do they do know about you? And the limiting factor is he charged $5,000 to take on a DUI case. And did you know that a DUI is not a traffic offense? It's a criminal offense. You can actually go to prison for a DUI. So it's a serious deal. But what would happen is people would call the DUI lawyer and they would say, hey, how much does it cost to hire Mr. DUI guy? And they would say $5,000. They would say, okay, thank you. Click. They'd hang up the phone. They'd find a friend of a friend that got a DUI and found somebody else to do it for around $1,200, and they would call that person. So we didn't have an advertising problem. We had a strategy problem. This particular DUI lawyer was doing about $1.8 million a year. Do you guys know? Can somebody put in the chat the limiting factor? Tell me what you think the limiting factor is and how to remove the limiting factor. I'll give you a few seconds so somebody can put how this guy can overcome the limiting factor and grow his business. And I can tell you, whenever I give this presentation, most people will say, well, just make his ads a little bit more believable, that he's the expert, that he knows what he's doing, and he can get you out of this. Yeah, that sounds logical, but it's not the real problem here. $5,000, exactly, Joan. Price was the problem. And do you know how you overcome that limiting factor? In-house financing. Now, this particular lawyer said, I can't finance these people. Are you nuts? Nobody will pay me back. And my partner, Roy, said, dummy, you're a lawyer. That's one of your defining characteristics. You're a lawyer. If people don't pay you back, they know that you can sue them, right? So he agreed to in-house financing, and in 12 months, doing nothing more. He did not add a single dime to the advertising budget. He just offered in-house financing, and he went from 1.8 million in 12 months to 4.6 by removing the limiting factor. Do you guys get this? Do you see how important that is? Right? Now, I forget the exact percentage of people that paying back, but it's 98% of the people paying back. And there's a little bit of a knucklehead factor that you do have to factor in. Some people, yes, will take advantage of the great offer that's so good that they have to do business with you. You have to factor that in. But 12 months, 1.8 to 4.6 by removing the limiting factor. So what's the offer? If you don't feel like a person would be an idiot not to follow up on your offer, don't do the offer. All right? What about guarantees? I like ironclad guarantees, not ones that are full of holes, but ironclad. You all remember Zappos? Zappos was founded in 1999, selling a commodity, shoes, online in 1999. I don't know about you, but in 1999, I wasn't so apt to, for one, give my credit card over the internet, but for two, to order a pair of shoes that I might not like. I didn't get to try on. I don't know if the color is going to be right, or when it gets here, how they fit. That's a limiting factor. However, Zappos had the insight to use strategy, and they overcame those objections. They said, no, you can order as many shoes as you want. You could try them on. If you don't like the shoes, you can send them back. We'll refund the money that you spent to buy them and the shipping that got there and came back. We take away all the objections, all the limiting factors. And guess what? They exceeded 1 billion in sales in less than 10 years by creating a great strategy. Yes, they have a great culture, and that's a whole nother side to the equation. But without that guarantee, I don't believe Zappos would probably even be in business today because they took away the objections and limiting factors. So now that you know that, those are a lot of the framework for thinking strategically. There's another technique that you can leverage. You can leverage the already proven. You can repurpose the proven with a technique called business problem topology. Okay. Very, very powerful technique. King Solomon once said, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. What that means is whatever problem that you have today in your business, whatever limiting factor, whatever objections, likely somebody else has already faced that problem and they have a proven solution to overcome it. You just haven't looked outside of your category and saw how they overcame it and adapted it to your particular business or your particular problem. A smart man makes a mistake, learns from it, and never makes that mistake again. But a wise man finds a smart man and learns from him how to avoid that mistake altogether. Those are the words of wisdom from the great wizard John Young. So step one in business problem topology is find a parallel but unrelated business which has a problem with similar defining characteristics. So whatever you're facing, another business that has faced it in a different category, and they've overcame that problem for which you would like to develop an innovative model for. And remember, it's a parallel problem, not a parallel industry. Then look at how that parallel but unrelated business overcame the obstacle. And step three, adapt their proven technology to your own business category. It's already proven to work, but it hasn't been implemented in your industry or in your category. The first question will always be, what's my sword in the stone? This is why I asked you earlier, why are you here and what are you trying to make happen, right? Once we understand why you're here and what it is you're trying to make happen, that's where we plant our flag in the ground and say, that's our North Star. That's the thing that guides everything that we do. We're trying to accomplish this one focused thing, right? The second question is, what are my limiting factors? And the third question is, what are my blind spots? And that's again where you're inside the bottle syndrome and you can't see it from the outside. But they need to be uncovered and they need to be acknowledged. Then, once you understand that, start searching business categories, accounting, advertising, clothing, furnitures, mowing service, tire shops, whatever, veterinarian clinic. Start thinking about your problem. You've got your problem, your objections over here, and your defining characteristics. Start looking at other businesses outside of your category, and it'll start sparking ideas that you never would have thought of if you hadn't done this particular technique. So some people think that Henry Ford invented the first automobile. Henry Ford did not invent the first automobile. Gottlieb Daimler and Carl Benz did in 1886. Yeah, 1886. You got that right. 2,000 automakers were before Henry Ford, and they were making them in their garages, building them from one part on up. It cost over $2,000 back in 1886 to produce a vehicle. Henry's sword in the stone, what he was trying to make happen is he wanted to be able to sell automobiles to the mass public for $795. And he heard about a meat packing plant up in Chicago, the Swift meat packing plant. He heard that they were taking a pig carcass and they were taking it from oink to package in under 2 minutes. Henry said, how do they do that? How do they do that? I have got to know that information. So Henry boarded a train and he visited the Swift meatpacking plant, and he witnessed the disassembly line. He saw an overhead rail with a hook and a disassembly line, and he reverse engineered the meat packing plant to create the assembly line. And in 1908, Ford Motor Company introduced the Model T for $850, selling nearly 15.5 million Model Ts by 1920 for as low as $280. Wow. 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 This is the type of stuff that you can take and revolutionize your category and franchise. These are the types of things you go, oh, nobody's ever solved this problem, but it's a huge problem in my market, and I've got a solution. And once you test that, you can franchise it, and you can make a whole lot more money. If making money is what your goal is here today. So the Clockworks Company, this is a real world example of what they did in the heating and air category. The defining characteristics of heating and air in a lot of service categories is you call up a service provider, whether it's heating and air or plumbing or whatever it may be, and you say, yeah, my furnace is out or my air conditioner's out. They'll say, okay, we'll be there either when we can, or we'll be there Monday, and then they don't show up, or they do show up 5 or 6 hours later. So that was a huge defining characteristics of the heating HVAC category. The Clockworks Company actually met with my partner, Roy Williams. It was Jim Abrams and Roy, and they came up with the always on time or you don't pay a dime strategy. So it spoke to a felt need in the heart of a lot of people. But where do you think that they got that strategy from, right? They use business problem topology. Always on time or you don't pay a dime. Always on time or you don't pay a dime. Who was doing that before the Clockworks Company made it into a 1-hour franchise? Does anybody know? If you know, throw it in the comments over to the side. Who's doing that? Always on time or you don't pay a dime. If we're not there when we promise we are, you don't pay. Well, it was Domino's Pizza. Until somebody, one of their delivery guys, ran somebody over and they had to nix the idea. But you get the idea. You already repurposed the proven that worked in Domino's Pizza, and they applied it into the HVAC category. And is it deep and wide? That is the question that you'll have to ask yourself and answer is my strategy. I might come up with a strategy that I think is on cue, but do mass amounts of people agree with me? Is it speaking to the felt need in the heart of a lot of the public? It's like Oreo cookies, right? Lemon Oreo cookies I've never had, but I sure as heck have had a ton of the chocolate Oreo cookies. Lemon is a bad strategy. Chocolate, in my opinion, chocolate is a good strategy. See what I mean? Then when you're creating strategies, nothing has to be set in stone. Okay. You have the permission to experiment, do what they call a minimal viable product, create your strategy. You may think it's the best strategy in the world, and it may very well be, but experiment with it, test it, see what the public is telling you, because they'll usually tell you how to tweak, modify, or stay the course with the strategy that you have. Morris Height once said, way back in the 1940s or 50s, if you have a good selling idea, good selling strategy, the secretary in your office can write the ad for you. And what that means is it'll work anywhere. If you could write it, it's easy to write. You could throw it anywhere and it'll work. Here are the components to thinking strategically. What are you trying to make happen? Know that at the very beginning. What are the defining characteristics of my business and my customers? What are the limiting factors? What are the objections? Do I have any unleveraged assets that I'm sitting on that I'm not leveraging? And can I use business problem topology? And those are all centered around the felt need in the heart of the customer. So now you know how to create a strategy, a brilliant strategy that is destined to work and skyrocket your business. Now I'm going to show you a technique, now that you know this information, called the strategy diamond that I created. The strategy diamond takes a lot of influence from a technique called the character diamond, which a friend of mine named David Freeman, he's a screenwriting instructor, screenwriter and screenwriting instructor in Hollywood. He teaches a technique for screenwriters to create characters that people fall in love with in major motion pictures. I use this to create brands. That's a whole nother presentation. If you folks at Louisville would like to see that sometime, just let Dave know or Ryan, and we'll set a time that I can show you how to create a likable, lovable brand based off of the character diamond. But this takes influence from it. If y'all remember, this was a GIF that showed Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both like kind of Godzilla and King Kong going back and forth at each other. But if you guys remember back in around 2015, we had this really crazy election and it was really volatile and there was a bunch of wild stuff. And I remember watching the news and a politician was on there saying when the president gets into office, he only has about 3 or 4 things that he can promise on his campaign deliveries. So he only really has the bandwidth to really do about 3 or 4 things well. And it started reminding me of the character diamond. And I said, I could probably use this to create selling strategies. And that's how the selling strategy came to fruition. It was based off of this back and forth that you can't see with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump going back and forth, shooting lasers and breathing fire at each other. So that is how the strategy diamond was born. And it's a 4-sided quadrant with a north axis, east axis, south, and west. And basically the north side of the quadrant is some sort of core identity. Okay. What is the core identity that your business was founded on? All right. What's the one big idea? If you could distill down your entire business to one main big idea, what is that one main big idea? What does that look like? There's a gas station up in Canada ran by a man named Scott Frazier that I've talked with several times, and he has this gas station, and we were talking strategy. We were going over some strategy sessions, and he was telling me about the gas station. It's a full service gas station. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody pumps your gas for you, wipes off your windows, checks your tires, checks your light bulbs, all that good stuff. But also inside they have grandma's cookies that they sell, and I think it all goes to charity. But what I discovered with Scott is, Scott, your gas station does not look like a 50s style gas station, but it operates like a 50s style gas station. He said, oh my gosh, you're right. So his one big idea, though he did not know it, was we are a 50s style gas station. We service you like back in the 50s, right? Jeep. Take Jeep, for instance. Jeep's one main big idea. When you drive around in a Jeep, you've got the wheels and the suspension on it, is rugged outdoors. It's for the people that enjoy the rugged outdoors. So that's their one main big idea. Your business, I can assure you, has something driving it as its one main big idea. So one main big idea. What's your one main big idea? Write that down. And then you look at the East quadrant, and to make any strategy, whether it's a character diamond or a strategy work and interesting, is what's the obvious one? What do you see from the outside? And that's how you differentiate your product, your service, or your business. Okay. And those two should take influence. Your one big idea should help influence the way you decide to differentiate your products or your service at your business. 1 hour heating and air, their one main big idea is time. is getting your time back or scheduling your time. And everything that they do should reflect based off of that one big idea, how they differentiate their business. At Millen Court, Petro-Canada, the gas station, they still give away free air. And they have a tagline when they say that, it's how it should be. Air should always be free, but you can rarely find a air pump now that you don't have to chuck a couple quarters in, right? But they do. That's what makes them the sort of 50s style gas station. And then the South Quadrant, to make any strategy interesting, there needs to be some sort of vulnerability. Courageous offer. That's where your courageous offer comes into play. We'll go back to Zappos. Now, the 365-day money-back guarantee on anything, you can wear the shoes for 364 days, return them on the 365th day, and they'll still return your money for the shoes and the shipping that got them both ways. Now, most people, again, would say, you're nuts. That's crazy. You're going to go broke. It'll never work. Well, Zappos proves that type of guarantee that takes away the limiting factor is actually how you grow exponentially and become a billion-dollar business in under 10 years. The west side, the west quadrant, is some type of surprise. Without surprise, any strategy, without surprise, there is no delight. So that's where you factor in the unexpected delight factor. Now we'll look at Zappos again. I don't know how Zappos does it today, but back at least in the early days, when you ordered from Zappos, you typed in your shoes and you hit buy now. They would upgrade your shipping to overnight. You didn't pay for it, but they upgraded it and didn't tell you. You made the order. You made the order today. You wake up tomorrow, and oh my gosh, this friendly Zappos company has a box sitting on my porch. How can I not feel good about the company Zappos? They upgraded my shipping to overnight and didn't charge me for it. Okay, so that's the unexpected delight factor, but it's something that you always hide from your advertising campaign, and you never, ever, ever promise it in any of your marketing materials. You let people be delighted when they receive it, and that helps to create bond and create long-time repeat referral customers. So those are the four quadrants: the one big idea, the differentiation, the courageous offer, and the unexpected delight factor. And try to use business problem topology. And I'll show you how I did that for a client that I worked with several years ago, a brand new client from New York. Their name is Incredible Packaging. And this was their strategy diamond. When I first met with them, they said, well, our big idea is packaging products for small retail stores and shops. I said, okay, we could probably work with that. Well, how do we differentiate ourselves? Well, they said, well, we use 80-pound paperweight. I'm like, yeah, okay. And they said, well, we have a low minimum. You don't have to purchase a whole lot to do business with us. I'm like, yeah, okay. And said, what's our courageous offer? Well, they didn't have one. What about the unexpected delight factor? Well, they didn't really have one. And not to their fault. Almost every business is like this. This is what they would give you. So I just happened to be shopping for stickers, and I found a company online called Sticker Mule. And I ordered my stickers from them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this company. They just do everything right. They check every box. And what did they do? Well, their big idea, and this is all my interpretation. I didn't sit down with Sticker Mule. I just reverse engineered what they did to put it in a strategy diamond template. My perception was they wanted to be the internet's favorite printer. Okay. They wanted to make it easy to order stickers online, which can be hard. How did they differentiate themselves? They had sample orders at a very low cost. So one of the limiting factors is any printing company is they want mass amounts of product before that you buy, and you don't really know what you're going to get. So Sticker Mule overcame that objection by saying, yeah, you can order little bitty sample orders to see if you like them or not. You know, they had a very fast turnaround time, 4 days. They had free online proofing, and they could help with artwork for free. They didn't charge me. They gave away free shipping and they promised a 4-day turnaround. Pretty strong, pretty courageous offer. Unexpected delight factor, lightning fast email. I sent an email asking about some things. Within 5 minutes, I got an email back. I thought I'd be getting an email back the next day or something, and that right off the bat put me in a good mind frame with Sticker Mule. They have 24-hour service. They found a way to have somebody there 24/7 to respond to emails and to respond back to customers. And they send a thank you card in all their packaging. All right. Didn't expect it, but I got it. Right. This is the thank you card. Cheers. Thank you for your order. Printed, cut, and packaged with love by Kelly. Now, that might not mean a whole lot to some people, but it just made me feel good. It was lovable. Right. And then they asked me, if I had a second, if I could upload that to Instagram or somewhere. Sure, heck yeah, I like this company. I'm going to do it. They made a good impression on me. They also gave me 3 free stickers that came in my bag that I didn't ask for. It was an unexpected delight factor. And I ordered the stickers from my company from Sticker Mule and had a very great experience, and we'll probably do business with them again. So this was my recommendation based off of business problem topology for my client, Incredible Packaging, based off of what I kind of pulled that I knew was working for Sticker Mule. I was okay with staying with packaging products for small retail stores and shops, but I suggested a 3-day turnaround on custom work, 24-hour turnaround on non-custom, no minimum orders, all orders bulk rate prices. Wasn't 100% sure if they could do it or not. I said, we need to do free shipping, some kind of guarantee on non-custom, 5-minute response to emails. If they can do it, we can do it. Thank you cards in your packaging, encouraging the sharing, and some kind of added freebie. I don't care. Throw in the baker's dozen, do something like that. Let's repurpose the proven. Here's what they did now. I don't work with this company anymore, but this is what they agreed to. Their big idea still wanted to be packaging products for small retail stores and shops, no minimum order, online free design. And by the way, they had a parent company that's a huge company. I was working with them, and they were actually in the process of working with Hallmark to do their cards. So they had an unleveraged asset, the parent company, doing bigger bulk orders for bigger, larger companies. So they had a unleveraged asset that they could tap into. Free shipping, 4-day turnaround on custom, same-day shipping on non-custom, 10-day money-back guarantee, free samples with their orders, and thank you cards. Now that is a whole heck of a lot better strategy than the very first one that I showed you for Sticker Mule. So hopefully you've learned how to think strategically, and hopefully you've learned how to create a strategy diamond for your own business. And I just want to thank you for being a friend. It's what I got. Thank you, Louisville.
That's great. Thanks, Mike. If you have any questions out there and like to have a little chat here with Mike, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll get them answered and have a little discussion on that.
Sheila says, I like the ace. Laugh out loud. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some interest on a little branding seminar. So after we get done, we'll have to talk about that.
Oh, I would love. That is my absolute favorite. This is my favorite for really getting to the left brain side of the hemisphere of your brain, to get that, left brain working. But the right brain is the character diamond. I absolutely love giving that presentation. So I'd love to give that to you folks.
We're going to do that. So. What something that kind of popped out to me early on, it was kind of one of those light bulb moments, but in my role, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, and they're always talking about, I need to do more social media. I need to get my name out there and just push and push and push. And your analogy about annoying the dog was great, because, message frequency doesn't mean anything, does it? If you're saying things that are irrelevant, it doesn't matter what you do. It's highly likely not to work. Now, there's a point where repetition does help you, just because
of the brand awareness thing, you know, where you start to become top of mind. But if you're not saying anything of relevance, a lot of those messages are being ignored. You know, they don't even make the register. There's a study by the Yankovic company where it says we're exposed, and this is many years ago, to over 5,000 messages a day, right? Whether it's the gas pump, whether it's the radio, the TV, you know, I mean, I'm looking at the Louisville Small Business Development Center, their logo right now. So that's a brand impression, you know. So if it doesn't have salience, and there isn't a lot of what's in it for me and meat to it, then it gets ignored. It's basically not there.
Yeah, nice. So Jeremy asked, does strategy change for verticals? I would guess the approach is the same in the diamond format, just the widgets details change.
Well, the laws of the universe are never going to change, and it doesn't matter what business category you're in. That's why I made it a point to put in the lawyer, because most people would say, well, most people sit there and they think, my business is different. I understand what you're saying, Mike, but my business is different. And that is never true. The principles that apply to the universe are universal. You've just got to figure a way that resonates with your category by looking at the defining characteristics, by looking at the objections, by looking at the limiting factors, all of those things that I discussed pre-strategy diamond. Figure those things out, and you will figure out a way to make you'll figure out a way to revolutionize your business and possibly franchise it.
You know, the other thing that kind of occurred to me is that often when you're working in your business, you kind of have blinders on for a lot of things. So is there a kind of another process that you can use to kind of help identify, especially like the limiting factors? Is there some help, some, I don't know, framework or something that you could suggest?
Well, again, that's probably the toughest part, because the business owner is typically inside of that bottle. They're stuck inside of it and they can't see it as real. That's where hiring outside help or getting somebody that is deathly honest with you and not afraid to speak their truths to you, you know, and not try to not to just appease you, to say, hey, David, in my business category, be honest with me. What is the misconceptions or the preconceived perception of my business? Or even better, you know my business, David. You've been here. You've been here. I don't want you to lie to me. I want you to tell me straight truth. I'm not going to get mad at you, I guarantee. Or do a blind, do something anonymous where people can anonymously tell you what they truly think about you without you knowing who they are. Maybe it's your employees. That's a great reference to go. We're going to send out a survey. It's completely anonymous, and it has to be anonymous. However you do it, we want the brutal, honest truth. Nobody's going to know that you don't sign your name to this. Everybody's doing it, but we need to know so that we can fix problems in our business. But it's truly getting somebody to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So Debbie wants to know, how do you think we should apply the surprise in our efforts as a nonprofit to retain donors?
Well, again, I can give you the first thing that pops in my head. I have a heating and air client that I work with in Wisconsin, and one of the things that they did for their employees, because your employees are your best customers are your employees, because if you make them happy, they can make your customers happy, so on and so forth. You have a happy business, happy life. But they were working them in the dead of winter. They were overworking them. You know, they were keeping them late. And this is a great company with a great internal culture, which is a whole nother piece of the equation that I happen to have a presentation for. But if you want to see that at some other time, we can give that too. But the internal culture is awesome there. And when they would work their employees over, they would send their wives, mostly men in the heating and air, they would send their wives a bouquet of flowers saying, "Thank you for letting us have David. We know that his time with you and his family is very valuable and very important. We just want you to have these flowers." They didn't expect it, but I can guarantee you they sure did appreciate it. And they're going to be loyal to when you got your wife loyal to your company, the company you work for, you're probably going to be loyal to.
Mm-hmm.
I do this in softball. I coach my daughter's softball team, and I use all of these principles in 10-year-old softball, to create a culture within the 10 or 12 girls that I would coach, basically to get them all on board and see their commonalities. But we would reward efforts. I made necklaces with little softballs on them. Anytime they did something extraordinary, got a hit, made a great play, at the end of the game, they would get softballs. So the goal was to fill up their necklace with little softball beads. Mm-hmm. They loved it. It was great. But that was unexpected. Not only did the girls love it, but the parents loved it. And if I can get the parents on my side and I can get the kids on my side, the kids are going to play for me, and the parents aren't going to be crazy on the sidelines.
Right. So Mary wants to know, where among the 4 prongs in the diamond strategy would the effort to create an emotional connection be?
Well, that's a great question. That is a super great question. And that question would be better shown in the character diamond. The character diamond is where you're going to learn about the emotional connection and creating a bond with the public, getting them to like you, to know you, to trust you, and to feel best about you before they ever need your product or service, right? That's going to be in there. But if I had one to pick, the one main big idea is what your business is really founded on. That's going to create emotional connection, but also the unexpected delight factor is definitely going to create a bond. So yes, those can, but the character diamond is going to be the overall bond of your brand, your personality, who you are. It's going to give people a perception and a character in their subconscious mind of who you are, and they'll make a connection with you or not based off of that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of connections, a lot of folks are asking for your contact info, and it's right there on the slide there. There's his website and Mike's email. You can reach out to him. Mike, do you do any free consultations for folks first go around?
That was something that I don't per se. Mm-hmm. I know I have a couple partners that have been asking to do 90-minute consultations for free with people. And, I've never done that, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Okay. Early on, you also mentioned about the 3 whys process. Does that work with each one of these? When you're going through the strategy diamond, is that a good technique to kind of break the ice when you're going around the diamond to come up with some strategies?
Well, it always helps. It always helps if the business owner has this seminar per se, or if they read my book, my partner's book, they start to get a better idea of the philosophy that I have and that my other partners have. That's always a great jumping off point. Matter of fact, when I work with a new client, I always send my book, ask them to read it ahead of time, so they've got a little bit of knowledge and they have an insight into what we're doing. And it always helps too. There's 2 types of customers in pretty much every business category. There is a long-term thinking relational type of customer, and then there is a short-term transactional mind frame. Okay. Mm-hmm. I have some safeguards where I only really like to work with the people that think long-term. if you're a Bible scholar and you've ever read the parable of the sower, you know that if you cast seed on soil, it's the seed that goes into good soil and is nurtured, and you put your minerals and stuff on it. That's the one over time that bears good fruit. Those are the people that I try to attract, because the techniques that I teach are for long-term sustainable growth. And that's a certain mind frame of people. I'm not saying that direct response is not a good strategy, but the heart of the person is in both of those. Does that make sense to you, David?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? So they need to be in the right mind frame to implement the techniques that I teach.
Right. So if we have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. And Brian has just posted a little link for you guys, if you wouldn't mind, a little Survey Monkey link for our benefit, to kind of give us some feedback on what you'd like to see in the future, and maybe what we're doing right, and let us know what we're doing wrong. I don't see any other questions right now. I think we got to everything. So Jeremy asked maybe about your book again. Would you talk a little bit about that again?
Yeah, sure. So the book is it's called The Strategy Wizard: How to Make Lovable Local Marketing. It is available on Amazon. You can go there and you can purchase it.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about strategy in there. Exactly the presentation that I gave is in the first part of it. We talk about the strategy diamond. We do talk about the character diamond, the brand part, and there's a culture part in there. Internal operations, getting the culture right inside of your business, and then the last part is basically taking all of your messaging that you created and your internal culture, and then making sure that those all are working together, because you don't want to say one thing in your marketing and advertising and then be another when the customer shows up to your website, to your phone, to your storefront, wherever it may be. There's a disconnection there. There's a sort of a split personality, a schizophrenia, that happens. So you really want to be the business that you say you are, but those are based off of your inherent values and beliefs of the business owner. And that book will teach you how to take your true values and your true beliefs and turn those into marketing messages through your stories, but also create the strategy diamond, the strategy character diamond, and then it'll teach you about culture, and then trying to lay those all together, seamlessly all together.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me that this type of strategy, this type of whole process that you have, this would be super helpful for someone that's maybe has sort of a commodity business. I'm thinking of just like even a bland, like a coffee shop, let's just say, working through all these different little techniques. I think that would be pretty valuable for anybody that's kind of stuck in that kind of business.
Anybody, and it's the commodities. The problem with commodities are that people do the same thing and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. We've all heard that. But there's a story I tell in the beginning of my book about it's sort of a parable of the monkeys, and it's in the very first part of the book, and it's researchers had a cage that had a ladder, and a bundle of bananas were at the top of the ladder. They introduced a monkey into the cage, and the first action that the monkey did was sprint straight towards the ladder and go up to go get the bananas, right? Well, the researchers blasted it with a fire hose before it could get to the bananas, and it blasted the monkey off of the ladder. And the monkey kind of looked around, what the heck's going on? So they opened the door and they let another monkey in. Well, the first thing the monkey does is go straight to the ladder, go to the bananas. They blast it with water, and then they blast the first monkey just because the other monkey tried to go up the ladder. Well, the third monkey enters the equation, and he tries to go up the ladder, and the other two monkeys beat the crap out of him, right? And so He doesn't get to go up the ladder. They introduce a fourth monkey. They beat the crap out of him. The other 3 monkeys beat the crap out of the fourth one. The fifth one tries to do the same thing. The other 4 beat him up. So 5 monkeys have tried to go up the ladder. They've been blasted with water or they've been beaten up by the other monkeys. They start one by one getting rid of the monkeys in order. The first monkey that came in, they let him out of the cage, let a new one in. Every time a new one comes in, they beat him up before he gets to the top of the ladder. Now, all 5 monkeys, the original 5, have gone out of the cage that have been blasted by water. They let another monkey in. All the other 4 monkeys beat him up. And he says, "Why do you beat me up for trying to get the bananas?" And the other monkeys look at each other and they say, "Well, that's just the way we do things around here." So that's, people get stuck into doing the same thing over and over again. And usually, even in a commodity, there's limiting factors and objections that are there. They've just been there so long, they've fizzled into the background. That's why this technique and writing it down will start to prospect ideas to overcome them. And again, revolutionize your industry like Henry Ford did.
Nice. That's a great story. Looks like we're out of questions, and we're at the top of the hour. So, Mike, I want to thank you for coming today. This has been really eye-opening for me. I hope everybody else out there enjoyed it as much as I did.
Good.
Just a reminder, we'll send you these slides a little bit later on, and we'll also send you Mike's contact info if you'd like to reach out to Mike for some professional help. I would encourage it. And we'll get Mike on again for everybody that wanted to talk about branding, and I'll talk to Mike a little bit about maybe the character diamond as well. So I'm interested there. So, Mike, thank you so much.
Hey, Louisville, have a little shot of bourbon for me.
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next week. And thanks, Mike, again. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.